I just projected my burnout onto Johnny, and it's not fair, and I can't do it anymore. All right, so how did we get here? Before I get started, I am so tired this morning that I need to make a coffee, like ASAP, Rocky, right now. I honestly started drinking coffee just like 3 months ago. And you know why? It's because of this whole burnout thing. And I kind of resent myself a little bit for it because I always told myself I was never, ever gonna drink coffee. I just didn't want to get addicted. I think I was just too much of a slug to like need coffee, but now that I'm like go, go, go all the time, it feels like I need coffee. And I don't know, I'm kind of bummed about it. I knew I was in a burnout state when I was dreading everything every single day, when I could barely focus on anything, constantly eating things for the sake of eating them. Oh my God, I'm eating whipped cream directly from the can. I was just so tired. I was either so tired that I slept for 16 hours, or I would just wake up staring at the ceiling at 5 a.m. every single day. Honestly, I haven't been burnt out in a really long time. I was just so hopeless, and everything was so negative. There was no good to anything, and I would take little bits and pieces of that negativity and put it in this little box of like grumpy, and I would carry it around with me wherever I went, 24/7, all the time. So let me tell you how I got here, because there are 3 main reasons, and what I will call this my struggle pie. And all of these things combined made up a burnout that lasted for 3 whole months. And I know some of this might not relate to you if you're not planning a wedding or you're not a content creator, but if you listen to everything, it'll help you better understand how burnout can happen in the first place, especially for a UX designer. So with that being said, let's start with the first slice in that struggle pie, and that is work. So during this 3-month burnout, I was being transitioned from one product to another. And when you're switching from one team to another, even though you're within the same company, how things work and the dynamic and how they run their meetings and stuff like that can be totally different. So in my eyes, it honestly felt like I was going over to a new company. And if anyone knows what it's like to be new, I'm just gonna say it, like, it's not easy. And I feel like I have this pressure of like having to know all these things, but I also know that I shouldn't. And the worst thing about being new is this feeling of inadequacy. Because you don't know the answers to all these questions and you don't know what people are talking about, you convince yourself that you are not worthy and that you are not good at this job, and you start questioning why you're here in the first place. You start getting that imposter syndrome. I've experienced this my entire career, so I am in no ways blaming anyone. Now, I think this is where the burnout really started to trigger, and that's when I started to finally get some work on this team. So when I finally did have work, I put this pressure on myself that the work had to be perfect. I was like, Mimi, come on, it's your time to shine. Like, you finally have work. You gotta prove to these people that you're here for a reason and that you rock at your job. And it's like, no one asked for this. It was just my own like insecurities trying to compensate for that initial inadequacy that I was feeling at the beginning. Now, I do want to remind you that work was 20% of the pie of struggles, and it really only flared up because of this next reason. And for anyone following me on this journey on Instagram or here on this channel, I think you know what it is, and it's the wedding. So before I go on to say anything, because I know there might be some people on here, like friends and family that are watching, I am so incredibly grateful for my fiance, for my parents, for my fiance's parents, and any friends and family who have supported us along the way. Like, I'm grateful that I can even have a wedding right now, but I gotta be honest, I've never cried as much as I have this year over one topic, and I like to cry about various things in my repertoire of tears. So it was just very stressful to constantly be sad or upset or angry about one thing for 16 months. So I won't get into the weeds of it all as to like why wedding planning was so stressful, because I'm sure there are a ton of videos out there, but if not, and if you want to see it, let me know down in the comments. Okay, the last slice in the struggle pie is YouTube. So I started this YouTube channel at the end of October 2021, and as soon as I hit that record button, I fell in love. And I truly thank anyone who's come along with me on this journey so far. But the adjustment period of learning how to do all the filming, the editing,
the marketing, the content creating, the scripting, the contract reading, the business plans, the media kits
is just something that I was not prepared for. And I haven't found a really good time management solution yet in terms of juggling YouTube and a full-time job. So I really just try and squeeze in content creating and wedding planning where I can after my job. I'm really hopeful that once I get married that I can find a more sustainable solution for the future. And I also always laugh at myself and I'm like, why the fuck did I decide to start a YouTube channel like 5 months before my wedding? Like, girl, are you crazy? Will say though, the biggest burnout factor with YouTube is this like constant feeling that I have to post or else like I'm not gonna be relevant or like the algorithm is gonna kick me off. On the flip side of that, I just have so many ideas and I'm so passionate about YouTube and content creating that like I don't know when to stop. Like I do not have a threshold. And now I have some really good news for you. I can confidently say that today I am out of burnout. I'm telling you, it's 100% possible. Like I feel reborn, renewed, refreshed, and I just feel like I'm ready to take on the world. However, if you are already living in Burnout City, then you're gonna wanna hear the next 3 things that help me get out of it and break free. And the last one actually changed my life. I really wanted to start by going over a theme that I got from a book I was reading called Burnout. We ultimately need to find a way to let our bodies know we're no longer threatened or in danger and we can stop being stressed. So these are the things that I found that help my body know that the world is not a stressful place. The first one is positive social interactions. I work from home, so I don't really see anyone except for my fiance, and if Morty counts, that's great too. But I really don't get human connection in person. So when I would go and get my latte at Starbucks and I would, talk to the barista and I'd say, have a nice day, those like little things started piling up to make me feel a lot more better about the world. If you remember that box of Grumpy that I was holding around, this interaction alone makes you remember that the world is not filled with a bunch of shitty people. The world is still very much a sane place, and that you don't have to sit in it alone. So this next one is kind of similar to positive social interactions, and it's being outdoors. When I have so much to do, it's so easy for me to never ever leave the house, especially like I mentioned when I work from home. It's like, why do I need to? I have the refrigerator, I have a shower, I have all my work. Why would I need to go anywhere? And honestly, like even besides all of that, like I just love being horizontal most of my life. So it's very hard pressed to like get me to go out into the sun, let alone like go on a walk. And so having Morty depend on me for his survival and like bladder control has been a very nice forced way to get out into the sun. When I would go on walks, I would make sure to unplug. Like I wouldn't listen to any podcasts or music, and I would just try and be as present and mindful as possible. And I found that really helped me feel a lot more better and helped me kind of get out of my own bubble in a way and remind myself that the world is a much bigger place outside of all the shit that you have to do. Okay, so this last one is actually a life changer, but you're probably gonna laugh when I say it because it sounds so simple, but it's not. It has many of layers, and that is having fun. When I have so much to do and I can't see anything but check boxes and crossing off lists, I start declining invites to do anything. I don't really reach out to friends. I don't really reach out to family because because I'm convinced that I have no time for fun and that I don't deserve it. But as soon as my bachelorette party happened, it was like an overnight transformation. It reminded me that people love me. It reminded me that the wedding was not a chore. It reminded me to celebrate myself and my love for my fiance, and that not having Wi-Fi wasn't going to ruin my life. However, I totally understand that it's not in everyone's situation to go on a big vacation internationally with a group of their friends, but honestly, if I would have just camped out in someone else's backyard with 2 of my friends, I genuinely think that would have done the trick. Okay, I did put a jacket on. I got really cold. I have one final thought that you're gonna wanna hear. You might not like to hear it, and you might disagree with me, but in my personal opinion, there is no cure to burnout. There's no one thing that's going to make it magically disappear. I think we're preconditioned to feel like we have to find some purpose or meaning in this life that we're in. And through that, we put this immense amount of pressure, and we put a lot on our plates to make us feel like we are succeeding at the game of life. But if we don't take a step back every now and then to remind ourselves that there is much more to life and fulfillment than checking off tasks and crossing off lists, we're gonna lose valuable moments like spending time with your loved ones or connecting with people that also walk this planet with you. And by remembering all the things that are right in your life, you know, like the little things, like the coffee that you enjoy in the morning, or your pet, or going out to dinner with your loved one, it helps alleviate all the wrong in your life that you can't stop seeing with that box of grumpy, and you can start taking away from that tension and that stress that your body is trying to respond to through burnout. No, I hope that all made sense. I know burnout's a tricky subject because it's really dependent on people's situation and what they deem as stress and how they define burnout. But for me, at least, it's really learning about boundaries. I think that is probably my biggest takeaway, and something that I've learned through therapy, and I'm still trying to work on that every single day, on learning to say no and learning to remind myself when enough is enough, and giving myself permission to just do nothing sometimes. If you're new here, do not forget to subscribe to this channel so you can see content more like this in the future, and I will see you next time.